Modern China is powerful, authoritarian, and socialist. But to understand how China got to the position it's in, we have to go to the beginning of Chinese history. The Jia dynasty could possibly be the first dynasty in Chinese history. However, the Jia dynasty may have never even existed, because the only proof we have of its existence is other dynasties talking about it. If it did exist, the first emperor would be Yu the Great. Yu the Great is often depicted with supernatural abilities in paintings and writings. But after Yu the Great's death, the Jia dynasty went on a slow collapse until the 17th century BCE. The Shang dynasty is the first dynasty to have been confirmed to have existed because it is the dynasty that created the first type of Chinese writing. However, the two first emperors of the Shang dynasty are unknown, but the third emperor is named Wu Ding, and he had 60 wives. The Shang dynasty lasted about 400 years until it was taken over by the Zhou dynasty. The Zhou dynasty is the third Chinese dynasty, and it created one of my favorite weapons, the Chuko-Nu. The Chuko-Nu looks like a crossbow, but it is used by pulling this lever up and down, which makes it fire pretty quickly. However, it was only used for hunting at this time. The Zhou dynasty is also the longest lasting dynasty, lasting around 800 years. During the last 200 years of the Zhou dynasty's existence, an event occurred called the Warring States. The Warring States happened because the emperor of the Zhou dynasty claimed 6 other states to be vassals, and they disagreed with that. So they all went to war against the Zhou dynasty, hoping to be able to take over it. And this here is the Qin dynasty, ruled by a very smart general named Qin Shi. And eventually, the Qin dynasty manages to take over all of this land and unites China once more. Despite only lasting 21 years, the Qin dynasty managed to build some pretty amazing things, like the Terracotta Army, which had 8,000 stone soldiers, 180 stone chariots, and 520 stone horses. They also built bits and pieces of the Great Wall of China. However, the Great Wall of China would not be finished for another 1,000 years. The Han Dynasty is considered to be the first golden age in Chinese history, where art and literature had a massive increase in popularity. The Han Dynasty is also responsible for creating the most common dialect of Chinese, Mandarin, or as it was known back then, Han Chinese. In the last years of the Han Dynasty, an event called the Yellow Turban Rebellion happened, where a man named Zhang Zhi, who claimed to be a sorcerer, helped unite the people of China against the Han Dynasty in demand of better working wages. In result, the Han Dynasty needed to call on a bunch of local warlords to help deal with the rebellion. Now that a bunch of local warlords have a bunch of power in their region, they decided to rebel against the Han Dynasty and all begin fighting for power. In the end, the Jin dynasty prevailed and united China as one once more. However, the Jin dynasty only lasted for around 4 years, and during that time they completed nothing notable, and the dynasty that took over them was the Sui dynasty. The Sui dynasty, however, was known for their very good architecture, as they made multiple canals that are still in use to this day. They also created the first prototypes for black powder. The dynasty that preceded the Sui dynasty was the Tang dynasty, and the Tang dynasty is considered to be China's second golden age after the Han dynasty. The Tang dynasty invented a lot of cool things like the gas stove, air conditioning, and fireproofing. The Tang dynasty also reformed black powder into weapons like the fire lance and the grenades. The fire lance is a spear with a large firework attached to the end that would explode on impact. Fire lances were often paired with horses so that you could get to your enemy much easier. The Song dynasty is the dynasty that began to heavily implement black powder into their military, so it was pretty common to see fire lancers and grenadiers spread throughout their armies. They also created explosive arrows that exploded on impact. Some might even consider the Song dynasty to be another golden age in Chinese history. In 1241, the Song dynasty was conquered by the Mongol Empire. The Mongol Empire kept all of China for 200 years until it collapsed, and then the Yuan dynasty took over all of China and parts of Siberia. The Yuan dynasty was also the largest Chinese dynasty to ever exist. They also invented the hand cannon, which is like a predecessor to the gun. The Ming dynasty had a population explosion, and they reached a peak population of 160 million people. They also sent out a great explorer named Zheng He, who explored and traded along the coast of India and past the Horn of Africa. They also invented the hwacha, which is a really cool artillery weapon that holded 500 arrows with a rocket on each one, and they were all connected to one fuse. When it was lit, they all shot at once, and it created an arrow rain for the enemy. And they also finished building the Great Wall of China. The Qing dynasty is the last Chinese dynasty, and they have this really cool flag, and this really cool anthem. But the anthem only lasted for 2 years, from 1911 to 1912. The Republic of China, when it just started out, was actually not a republic, and it was controlled by a Qing official named Yuan Shikai. After he died, the Republic of China became a republic, and they changed their flag to this in 1918. In 1937, the Republic of China was invaded by Imperial Japan in the Second Sino-Japanese War, or as you probably know it, the Pacific Front of World War II. The People's Republic of China is currently the most recognized form of China, and it was originally a communist revolution led by Mao Zedong against the Republic of China, and they eventually forced the Republic of China off onto the island of Taiwan, where they remain to this day. This video is incredibly simplified, and every single one of these topics probably needs a 10-hour video of its own. This was just an overview of all the important events that have happened over the past 4,000 years of Chinese history.